We're back out on Wylie this morning and got one of Jeremy's Southern English Challenge tournaments this weekend, so I'm just going to try and get a little bit of a clue and see how I can catch some fish for that tournament. The wind's supposed to blow real hard today. It's the middle of December and we've had a week of real warm weather. I mean, record highs almost in the 80s, and it's the middle of December. And today they're calling for 15 to 25 mile an hour winds and partly cloudy, so should be an interesting day. I'm really thinking that this jerk bait or the spinner bait, maybe a little crankbait along some of these windy banks should be able to get bit. I think we're supposed to have wind for the next 2 or 3 days. Saturday it's supposed to be cloudy and rainy, and I think the wind's supposed to blow then as well, so if I can figure out a rhyme or reason to bite on these windy banks, it should hold up. And you'll notice I'm going to work these baits pretty fast, just giving the water clarity and the fact that the water's still fairly warm. I mean, it's actually warmed up a little bit this week from the warm weather, so I really feel like these fish should be fairly aggressive and willing or able to attack a fast moving bait without too much trouble. So we shall see. Give it a whirl and see what we can come up with. I'm going to key in on a lot of these little rocky banks and windy banks, so probably hear a lot of wind in the microphone today. One of the frustrating things about this time of year is all the leaf litter that you pick up. Good fish. Come here. Yeah. Sweet. That's not a bad little fish. Kind of sickly looking though. Cool. On the little crankbait. Yeah, he was up there pretty shallow. Little clump of rocks. Tell you, that's one of the things, if folks haven't already done it, while the water's down, you better get out here and mark some of this stuff on your GPSs and your maps, and bring your video camera and make notes of where all this stuff is, because when the water goes up, I assure you, about March, you bring a little shad wrap or a spinnerbait along those rocks right there, you will get a bite, and it can be a big one. That's the kind of stuff that, knowing where that stuff is at will help you tremendously. And there's a lot of it exposed right now that we wouldn't otherwise see, so it's kind of nice. I tell you, fishing in the wind can be one of the most aggravating situations. Just makes it hard to cast, makes it hard to control your boat, maintain your boat position. But it can also be one of the best situations for catching fish, lots of fish, big fish, just because it does break up the light penetration going into the water, and it stirs up the water, gets the food chain active, and so you can really catch them pretty good sometimes on windy days. And this is not a real, deep running crankbait or a deep cranking kind of deal anyway. You're really fishing probably out to about 5 foot tops on these places, because I really expect with the wind for the fish to kind of be up there a little bit, feeding a little more aggressively. So I'm really not that worried about getting a bait real deep, or in these places like this where I really expect the fish to be, I'm gonna make multiple casts just because I hadn't caught one and I really believe there should be a fish on this point. So I'm just gonna make multiple casts. Sometimes it just gotta bring it by that fish just right to get him to eat it. But I'm just trying to key in on these little patches of rocks that I see on the bank after having caught that first fish. On that kind of stuff, it just makes me curious if there's not more relating to this kind of stuff, which I believe that there should be, and there will be. So that's why I'm kind of going through the mental database now of where all these little places are and how many I can remember or think of. Ideally I'd prefer that the wind be blowing onto this bank rather than across it or off of it, but either way the wind still knocks down the light penetration. So just ultimately I think it'd be better if the wind was blowing straight on it, but still worth a shot. Really hoping to find a little pattern that I'll be able to use Saturday to catch some fish besides the jig, just because there's been a lot of people fishing the jig and that bite's starting to wane a little bit, it seems. I think it might just be from the fishing pressure. But when in doubt, if nothing, all else fails, I'll get out my jig and go to work. That's one of the nice things about having a bait that you've got confidence in. Everybody's got one bait, whether it be a worm or a topwater or some little bait that everybody has some amount of confidence in. That, if you can just get it out and feel good about fishing it, in a lot of cases you'd be surprised at how well it'll work for you. If you just have the confidence to stay with it. Should be a fish somewhere on this point. He should jump all over that crankbait. That's what I'm hoping anyway. Going through the mental database of rocky points and little rocky outcroppings, I just thought of one back there behind me. Right over there. The way that wind's blowing across that point, it just sets up perfect. And they're just don't understand it. Trying to slow down a little bit, wind the spinnerbait down a little deeper and see. If I can get a bite that way. That's the tough thing about this. You catch a fish right away and think maybe you've got an idea. Then you fish like that for another, hour and don't get another bite. It leaves you scratching your head wondering, what the story was on that one fish. But all you can do is keep plugging away. Well, the only other thing that I can think of that I haven't done is find some more of these little rocky patches in the creek somewhere, because that one where I caught that fish was still in Nivens. It was kind of towards the mouth, but it was still in the creek. So that might be something to look at. But literally, as I go through the process of thinking about what I did to catch these fish or catch that fish, and I'm trying to reproduce it and get on a little, figure out a pattern. Sometimes that variable of, in the creeks versus out on the main lake is a big player. It makes a big difference. But you just have to try a little of both till you figure it out. Now guys today don't have one or don't use one. It's just beyond me. And with crankbaits now costing $5 or $6 a piece, especially if you get one that you've had painted or had some work done to. On me. But there are lots of guys out there that don't have them, don't use them. It's crazy. But it's easy enough to use. This little chalk box deal that I use, it works out real well.
Who isn't tired of tangled fishing rods, bent or broken rod guides? Then you need the Rod Jimmy. The Rod Jimmy makes it easy to protect your valuable fishing rods with easy on and off protection. Made of durable materials for a lifetime of use, the Rod Jimmy will more than pay for itself with one season. Say goodbye to tangled rods and lines. Store and carry more rods securely and easily with the Rod Jimmy. Order yours today at therodjimmy.com. That's therodjimmy.com.
For the best selection of firearms, visit Sportsman Inc. Try out our 2 pistol ranges. We buy, sell, and trade guns. Sportsman Inc. has a full-time gunsmith on site, and we offer concealment classes. You'll find everything you need for hunting and fishing at Sportsman Inc. Hands Mill Highway in Rock Hill.
A lasting touch is Rock Hill's best-kept secret. We offer full-service repair, refinishing, and restoration of your treasured furniture pieces. Chair caning and seat weaving is also available. A Lasting Touch proudly serves residents of York County and South Charlotte. Pickup and delivery is conveniently available on Saturdays for those who need help with larger items. A Lasting Touch also has a retail sales area offering antiques, gifts, home decor, used furniture, and more. Remember, a lasting touch means lots of style without spending a lot of money.
Keeps it out of the way. That's another good little rocky outcropping right there. I'm really beginning to think that fish was just a fluke deal. It's the kind of stuff that I thought would work today, or that the fish would be relating to, but I'm really beginning to wonder about it. But yeah. Little bitty guy, hooked on the back. Same deal, windy bank, yep. But I'm further back, but I'm back in a creek pretty good ways. There's the back of the creek right there. I don't know, I'm just completely confused. And you know I'm desperate when I'm up here in the South Fork throwing around for schooling fish. You know I'm scratching my head trying to figure out what the heck to do. Because caught that one fish first thing this morning on that crankbait, and I've thrown it all the way up the lake, hitting dang near every good rocky bank stretch that I know of, and even some that I don't. Just fishing my way up the lake with that crankbait. I've thrown a spinnerbait a bunch, and I've just fished around through all this stuff, and yeah, just have not been able to get a bite. Little boogers. But you can always come in this cove, and there'll always be schooling in here. Always in the winter. They're always schooling in here. The problem is they're hard to catch sometimes. That one ate the swim buzz. Fat little bugger. Hello. He tried to get it. Dang, jerked it away from him. I've had like 5 or 6 bites on this thing that I've not been able to hook up with, or that I've pulled it away from them. Not good. Little bitty guy. This is the smallest topwater walking bait I've ever seen. This guy, Keith Brewer's at Suicide Shad Bait Company, is the one that makes it. And it is a little bitty thing, which, you know, fish like this, when they're, you know, these fish get pressured so much and they key in on such a little bitty bait that that thing actually does pretty good, because probably about as close to the size of the bait fish as you can get. Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna get this thing over here where these fish keep coming up. It's gonna be on. If I can keep the leaves off of it. Yeah. That's exactly what I had in mind. That's a decent little keeper. He's fat and healthy. Dang, I have to try to account for the wind with this little thing. Sweet. I thought I'd missed him, but heck, you got it. I think we got him spooked now. Well, it was fun while it lasted. Haven't caught one in here, a big one, in years, so I think this is like the nursery. It's where all the little ones come to hang out. Grow up big and strong and then move out to other parts of the lake or something. It's funny how you catch a couple and they just seem to get spooked and stop coming up. I probably should have thrown those couple fish in the live well. But oh, that little bitty guy. He was little bitty. I bet he wasn't 6 inches long. Definitely nice to come up here and catch a few fish after struggling so hard basically all day long. Get to come up here and catch a few fish at least. It's just been a pretty tough day, but that's, yeah, some days it's like that. Yeah. Really tried to hold on to that crankbait pattern probably longer than I should have, but I just kept hoping it would get better. Oh, he missed it. Oh, he's still behind it. Yeah, you and me both. Take that spinnerbait and run it over there. See if I can get him to bite a spinnerbait. Doubt it, but try it. fella. Had to have that spinnerbait. Well, the 7:1 gear ratio, or so you can wind the heck out of that spinnerbait. I think the boat moving through in and out of here has got this fish, got the bait all busted up, got the fish all busted up too. What I think has happened. It's the most bites I've had in here. Usually you come in here and they're schooling everywhere and blowing up and you can't hardly get them to bite. That's pretty. Damn it. That should have been him. Damn. There is no justice in the world. Well, folks, if you get out here and you're struggling to catch a fish like I was, come up here into South Fork, back here in this little cut, and there's a bunch of little fish in here. They can be caught. Sometimes hard to get them to bite, but if you're persistent and try different baits, you can definitely figure out a way to catch one or two. It's been a tough day, but you know, some days are like that. You just, you know, I made the decision that I wasn't going to throw the jig today. I was going to try and throw everything else. So you see how the day's gone. It's been tough. Hope folks
Fishing with Rusty is made possible by these great sponsors.